Welcome back. Thanks for staying tuned with us. This is our second conversation for this morning, and it's all about creating fair markets through competition policy development. And we have joining us on set Senior Trade Economist at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, Beresford Codd, as well as Executive Director of the Jamaica Fair Trading Commission, Mr. David Miller. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
It's a pleasure having both of you. Beresford, we could start with you just to share a bit about your collaboration, your ministry's collaboration with the Jamaica Fair Trading Commission in terms of developing our competition law here in Belize, which is very much needed.
Yeah, well, good morning again, guys, and thanks for having us. This collaboration with the Jamaica Fair Trading Commission is an extension of one that we've had previously with the CARICOM Competition Commission. So they are also in country. They're the regional body responsible for promoting competition and also overseeing competition matters across the region that happen between CARICOM countries. So if there's a merger issue, the CARICOM competition steps in when it's say like a Jamaican company and a Trinidadian company merges, because it might have some regional impact. So through that relationship, they were able to get us Mr. Miller, who is in to assist us with some guidance this week in this workshop that we're here to discuss.
Mr. Miller, let's bring you into the conversation. You could set the stage by defining competition law in the most brief terms, if you can, because I know you could go on extensively on it.
Make it palatable to our viewers.
I will make it as simple as possible and comfortable. But competition policy is about building a framework. There are consumers, their business, and their goods and services. It's about bringing the three together so that consumers get the best product quality, choices, competitive prices. That's important to us as consumers, isn't it? And then you have the business people who are in to make money.
Yeah.
And creating a framework so that they can produce the quality goods that we need. They can innovate to bring more choices and more variety of products and services and improve the quality that they're bringing. And of course, there is investment, which the government wants. The government wants more investment to drive the economy, bringing the consumers and the business together within a structured way makes that easier and that conversation more simple to invite investments into your economy. So that is what we are about, building out that framework that makes it work. The Jamaica Fair Trading Commission, we've been around for about 30 years, 33 to be exact, and it has been a slow process at some stages, but it's yielding good results for our consumers, definitely. We see investments on the business side going up, and it bringing more choices around to everybody. And it's important that we do that primarily because we want to have a better system for our citizens, wouldn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, most definitely. And we need to have that system. It is through demand and supply, the force of demand and supply, regulating that system that makes it work. So there's a competition law that governs it, what the firms should do and what they should not be doing. And this competition law speaks about goods and services and speaks about consumers obtaining redress, consumers having rights, and consumers obtaining those additional services that they need to live a more comfortable life.
If you're listening keenly, you can't help but acknowledge how timely this conversation almost feels, you know, especially because of what is currently taking place here in Belize, where competition in the telecoms industry is concerned. I want to ask you, Mr. Miller, I imagine you've been doing some of your homework and probably watching the news, seeing what's taking place here in Belize. What would you say is the importance of having competition where telecoms is concerned?
Well, Jamaica went through this process.
We also highlighted that, Paul.
Oh, yes, we did.
Yes.
Don't worry.
Between 2000 and 2010, we had rigid competition in telecoms where there were several market participants, and consumers got the best out of it during this time. They continue to get the best out of it because the telecoms firms have had to step up to improve their quality, to improve the variety of services, have lowered their prices because of competition in telecoms. And as you are aware, the telecoms market, telecoms facilities are always changing, always developing. Data became the thing in 2013 up until now, moving away from voice and SMS calls. And that's innovation. That's what it results in. As you're aware now, we're on YouTube. That's the innovation that's taking place. We're moving away from mainstream television and newspapers.
Yeah.
That's telecoms driven. So to have that framework for telecoms will help to drive that even faster. You have to keep up with what's going on. The firms are forced to keep up with the developments, and us as consumers, we know what's going on in the rest of the world, and we want these services, and we encourage the providers to provide these services.
But what about regulations? If I just say, you know, regulations could be put in place so that customers can expect improvement and innovation over time, that prices aren't increased just on a whim. Could regulations also do the same thing that competition
Regulation is a must for this kind of market.
Okay.
It's high investment in infrastructure, and it requires a constant monitoring of that framework. So regulation, in a sense, mimics competition, where competition tends to fail because there are only two participants. They're not 4 or 5 like in the bank and other sectors in construction. There are only 2. And there is the tendency or the facility for the 2 to collude. That's the reality of life. So regulation acts as that referee within a structured way, because regulation takes place in all jurisdictions, or almost all jurisdictions across the world.
It's the guiding force.
Exactly.
It is essentially the competition in the absence of competition.
In the absence of real competition.
In the absence of real competition. But I want to jump back to Barry's word before, as we continue on that line. But why is advancing competition law happening now? It feels a bit belated, if you would.
I think it's. For one, there's always been need to develop capacity in the area in Belize. It's a very niche subject. Not a lot of people study economic regulation, so it's something that we haven't really broached over the years, simply because there's a lack of a deeper understanding and appreciation for it. We treat competition as something that happens almost naturally. BTL comes in, Smart comes in. They start going against each other, so the market tends to work itself out. But as Mr. Miller rightfully said, you have cases where collusion would happen, you know, because if you're only 2 players, you can always discuss. Not saying that is what's happening here, but it has happened in markets all over the world. For us, we have been advancing our implementation of our trade agreements. So our agreements with Europe and the UK both have competition elements to it, because for us in trade, competition is recognized as something necessary to facilitate trade. So if the markets don't remain open, your trading partners look at it as it's a non-starter. It's something for them that totally makes the market unattractive, because they can't get a foothold in the market, because you allow one player to control the market without any sort of regulation to correct that dominant behavior.
But where that is the reality, where that reality exists, does that is where the reality exists and is necessary. Let's say in electricity, for example, here in Belize, and in water supply as well. How does competition law apply then in the unavoidable cases?
Yes, the natural monopolies.
Natural monopolies,
yeah,
refer
right,
to it.
right. And that's why you need a regulator. That's why they need a regulator to ensure that consumers get value for their money.
Talk about that then. Talk about the regulator and how competition law guides regulators or establishes authorities within certain systems or economies.
Right, so competition law is building that framework within which competition can flourish. Regulators, in a sense, can mimic competition, so they have to be aware of the rules of competition and the structures that regulators bring to the oversight of those companies, those market participants, will ensure as best as possible that it can be done. As you said, electricity is like a natural monopoly, in particular in a small space economy like ours. And so it's even more important to have that strong regulation and that oversight competition policy. At the same time, it's even more so in telecoms. Telecoms has become just like light, electricity and water many years ago. It's an essential service nowadays. We have to have telecom services to live, to operate, to do business. And so that competition oversight is just as important to prevent things that could go awry. And I do not know the specifics of the Belize economy, but at the same time, such conduct are typically seen in other jurisdictions, and we want to prevent them as best as possible. And that's what Jamaica has done for many years now in a structured manner.
Paul, if I may just to add some of the additional benefits of having the law in place, in that natural monopoly setting, it gives the regulator the ability to control abuse of dominance. So if you have that one large dominant player, it gives the regulator some guidelines, some frameworks to deal with issues like predatory pricing, issues like bid rigging, issues like price fixing, things like that. So all the different market conditions that competition in itself would typically discipline. If you don't have that competition, then you need the law in place to ensure that you can react, you can help to correct the market as best as possible to make it beneficial for both the investor and for the consumer. It really is about striking that balance to ensure that everybody can win.
Would the PSU be considered like a PUC be considered like competition authority in this case?
So in Belize's case, we don't have a competition authority fully to the full sense of what the Jamaica Fair Trade Commission is, but there are some competition elements within, like the Telecommunications Act, for example. There's a whole section in the Telecoms Act that speaks to abuse of dominance. There's a section that speaks to what can be done if a firm is determined as dominant, and it gives the PUC certain powers to do things like set price caps and different things like that. So there is some elements of it intertwined in the domestic law, but there are areas where a standalone competition law would be better with how you treat mergers. So like the Telecoms Act, for example, isn't as detailed as a typical competition law would be in terms of what are your thresholds to trigger a merger review, clear with certain quantified market percentage figures. So say like if the market is more than 40% concentrated, then you have to do a full review. So things like that, a competition law can flesh out a little further and avoid confusion that is often seen when the regulator has to step in without those guidelines.
And I must add that typically the competition agency and the utilities regulator collaborate. They speak regularly. Now, the competition agency would have jurisdiction over most industries, most sectors, while the telecoms and energy are specialized. And there's some specifics to the specialization of those industries. The competition authority now has a broader look, not only telecoms or energy, construction, groceries, all other sectors. Because things do happen in these other sectors that you ought to be aware of. Consumers do need the services and goods from these other sectors to live comfortably. And such, there is the need for that competition law and that competition authority. And when you think about an authority, don't think that it's 50 people being employed by the government and all that. It's a specialized area. In Jamaica, we have about 3 million persons in our authority. It's 15 persons. But there's a structure for dealing with all the sectors that we need to. So it's not a heavy burden on the government purse.
Are there instances when the commission feels, and I'm talking about the Jamaica Commission, feels as if it is perhaps being influenced by the market and perhaps guiding forces within the market versus the commission influencing the market? And how does competition law perhaps bridge that gap?
It's our role to enforce the law, and the law comes first and foremost. As I always say, I don't think people want to breach a law deliberately.
Yeah.
Right? They want to obey the rules of the game. It's our job to ensure that the rules of the game are being abided by. And in our work, we do a lot of collaboration with the business community. Our job is not to prevent them from doing business,
Right.
to encourage them to do better business, to encourage them to grow, to encourage investment, encourage that level playing field, and that's what we're about. You know, so it's to drive the economy through collaboration, through enforcing the rules of play, and ensuring that consumers get the best out of it.
So here we have an opportunity finally to strengthen Belize's economic governance. What's the next steps? Versor?
Yeah, so this week we are having our capacity building workshop that starts today. It runs for 3 days at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs building. We have about 20 different agencies represented, where we're getting senior managers and legal personnel from these different agencies, such as the tax service, customs, central bank, this AG ministry. So we have people from all over. It's great representation, and we do have a model bill already. From CARICOM, because CARICOM, what they've done over the years is to give everybody a base standard, and you can use that to build your legislation from it.
Nice.
So from that, what we are doing, we'll be launching a questionnaire this week to the public, to different agencies, the different stakeholder groups, to get feedback on the bill, and we would then incorporate that feedback into a revised bill. We're putting it at around 2 months, thereabout. We'll give ourselves to run this consultation. So this is really going to be the kickoff of that process.
All right. Well, gentlemen, we do have to close this conversation, but it has been wonderful. I definitely learned quite a few about competition law and how this could impact Belize as well. We wish you guys all the best.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Well, we do have to take another quick break, but don't go anywhere. Our next conversation is Modisco, bringing delicious wine and cheese under the stars.